Good evening, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. My name is Mike Avery. So glad to have you along with us on what is kind of a rainy evening here in Michigan. But I'll take the rain, I'll tell you that. How are you this evening? Glad to have you along with us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Randy, good evening. How are you, buddy? Nice to have you along with us. Let me turn that audio down, just to let that music down just a little bit. There we go. That sounds like a pretty good mix. Hello, Craig. How are you, buddy? Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Did I get my new pontoon yet? No, Gene, I didn't. Haven't heard anything about it other than from you. Stephen, John, Dan. Welcome to Wednesday Night Live. Bring on the rain. Absolutely, absolutely, Patrick. Diddle-diddle-doo-doo. Hello, Mike. Nice to have you along with us. It was real hot and muggy earlier. Last time I stepped outside, it was a little cooler. It's going real well, Michigan Outdoorsman. How are you? Hello, Jerry. John, always a pleasure. Bruce, our usual crew is along with us tonight, and I do appreciate it. Nat's Outdoors. Hello, Mike Natkowski. Hey, Mike, you want to be on a radio show Monday? I'm doubling up on shows next week to cover the week that I'm gone to White River, Ontario on my bear hunt. So I'm doing Monday and Wednesday. Mike, you want to do a show Monday? And by the way, I went to great pains before we started this Wednesday Night Live to make sure that I had the right mic. This mic right here. Right? Not this one. I'm scratching my laptop. You don't hear that, do you, right? You hear this one. Drove me crazy last week. Hello, Brandon. How are you? Nice to have you along. Maker's Mark Wednesday. That's what day it is. Maker's Mark Wednesday. You got that right. Hey, Jim. Always a pleasure. Things are going well. Nice to see you as well. Nat says, can do. Hello, Lori. How are things in your world? Yeah, lots better this week. And the heck of it is, John, it's set up the same way that it was last week. Nat, I'm going to make myself a note here. Mike Natkowski radio, and we'll talk and we'll get it all figured out. Okay. Hello, Jeff. Better this week. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That drove me crazy. Hey, Ryan. Some things to talk about tonight. It is August now, isn't it? To again, I say, hey, Ed, you were with us this morning and you're with us tonight. I do appreciate it. How are things on, is it Hubbard that you're fishing? How are things on Hubbard Lake? As you know, Saginaw Bay has been pretty good. Power just blew out. Where are you, Jeff? Southwest Michigan, right? Huh. Storms coming through. We had some storms earlier. The Wi-Fi or network had something to do with it. It was really weird. JC, nice to have you along with us. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate that. You're in Rochester. Okay. My wife was just talking to my daughter in Birmingham. She didn't say anything about it, at least not that I heard. Southeast Michigan. Yeah, so I'm doubling up on shows. Hey, Lance Valentine, one of my favorite people in the world. Lance Valentine of teachingfishing.com. Johnny says, I started baiting Saturday. I promise. I start baiting Saturday. I promise I'll send you a picture Tuesday. Ed says August is the best month for walleye fishing for him. Now, I was talking about it this morning. In fact, I was talking about with Lance Valentine here a few minutes ago, too, that the walleye fishing in Saginaw Bay is holding up pretty well for this late in the year. Of course, the water temp's only 75. Normally, by now, it's about 80. Hey, Brian. Your lucky charm. Any raffles you can win? Got nothing going on right now. All right, Johnny, I'll look for it Sunday. So excited to be bear hunting. Jason, True North Guide Service in the Sioux. Jason's going to join me on the show next Wednesday. John said he did see an 8526 Angler Quest with a 300 horse outboard. So to get their plant. Gene says that's my boat. Although Brad hasn't told me anything about it. Gene says that's my boat. That's the one, though. 8526 with a 300 horse Merc outboard. But in the meantime, I've had a great summer fishing that prototype 8526. A great boat. It's just missing some of the amenities, like a bimini. Why do you think I'm so tan? Tony, what's my buddy Tony have to say? Skinny water might be done at 12 feet or less. Down where we are, Tony, I agree. Up where Lance is fishing, he's getting fishing 8 feet of water. As I told you, Tony, over the weekend, let's see, last Friday, we fished in 12 feet of water and we did real well. Saturday, I went out there. I couldn't find those same fish. So I went out deep into 25 feet of water. And then we got fish because I'm living the dream. Living the dream. So I actually ended my Saginaw Bay walleye fishing season on a high note, a 3-man limit of nice fish. And the reason I've ended it, not because the fishing is good, because I'm switching over to bear hunting. What's John have to say here? I like that you love the bears and good luck. I love turkeys more than deer. Deer are too political. They are. They are. Deer hunting drives me crazy. Well, deer hunting doesn't. What has evolved around deer hunting drives me crazy. For example, people were griping that the Michigan DNR wasn't doing a very good job of keeping track of the harvest of Michigan's whitetails. So 10 years after every other state, Michigan this fall, the DNR decided they will institute a mandatory online deer registration system. And the people who hate the DNR have come out against it, saying it's overreach and it's going to keep people who are not technologically astute and people who are out in the middle of nowhere with no cell signal from being able to register their deer, which is just crazy. Yes, you did, didn't you, Gene? Oh, somebody's at the front door. I wonder if they brought me anything. I got a delivery today from my friends at Primal Tree Stands. This is what they brought. You have not seen one of these before. This is brand new. This is the Primal Tree Stands blind spot. This is a remote-controlled camera designed to be put on your blind or in a tree or on a stump or something else, and you control it, pan and tilt with your phone app. Brian boated 60 walleye in the Bay of Quinte this weekend, hammered them on Lake Erie Duries as well. Exactly, Ron. So, and by the way, everybody, this is pan. Okay. This is tilt. People say, oh, I panned my camera up and down. No, you didn't. You panned your camera side to side. You tilted your camera up and down. Yeah, this is it. This is the Primal Tree Stands blind spot. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. I got it connected to my phone, but I'm still playing around with it. I think this is going to be pretty sweet. I'll let you know. I'm taking it to White River with me. I'm not going to put this on my blind to look behind me because where I'm set up there in the bush in White River, Ontario, it's so thick behind me you can't see anyway. Plus the bears are coming in from the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it a bear chew toy. Well, that may be the case too, Jason. It might be a bear chew toy. You're very right. You're completely accurate there. So I'm going to put it up in front of me, looking down one of the bear runways. Now I'm going to try it. And you're right. Maybe it's a bear chew toy. Either one, John. More gadgets to play with. You know me. I'm a gadget guy. I'm like mini Lance Valentine when it comes to electronics. I'm a geek. I admit it. Jim says, Mike, what day is it? It's Wednesday. It's hump day. And we're now calling it Maker's Mark Wednesday. No, not too many gadgets. And it's only too many gadgets if you decide that it's too many gadgets and then you don't use them. In other words, if it's too many gadgets, you just don't use them. 50 yards, they said, John. You can get a 50-yard distance with it. Hey, Dave. How's the fishing been? Oh, what else? Okay, so it's August, right? Summertime is slipping by fast. Please do not let high gas prices and the fact that you're working your butt off and have very little free time, please don't let those things get in the way of enjoying the rest of the summer and getting your family out and making memories. I know gas is expensive. I know you don't have any spare time, any free time, but think about this. When it gets to be February, there's nothing more to talk about. When it gets to be February and it's 10 degrees out and there's a foot of snow and you're looking around going, oh man, I should have taken that camping trip. I should have taken the family camping. We should have gone up north. We should have done whatever. Well, it'll be too late, right? Yeah, you'll be planning for 2023 at that point. There's still time to do it. Now, when I do this, the sound did not drive you crazy this week, right? Because I think I have it set up this time where it's this mic and not those. Handheld thermal imager. We do need this rain, don't we, Jerry? All right, we're get back to the DNR deer registry. There's nothing much more to say about it, Todd. I will tell you this. On this weekend's Outdoor Magazine radio show, the third segment in the second hour features Chad Stewart of the DNR talking more about it. And he answers some of those criticisms. Well, what do I do? Yada, yada, yada. We know this in Michigan by now. There is a certain percentage of the population of hunters and anglers in our state who hate the DNR. Period. They hate the DNR. And there's nothing the DNR can do that will make them happy. I don't feel that way about the DNR. I am not happy with the way that things have changed lately in the last few years. That social science is now being considered part of sound scientific wildlife management practices. I don't like the fact that it appears the DNR is selling us out in the tribal negotiations, the consent decree negotiations. Yeah, it's kind of stormy here. Jeff, I'm in the central part of the Lower Peninsula, and it rained like crazy here earlier, and it was nice. How many deer are you allowed? It's a good question, Brian. Depends on how many tags you get. Tim is moving from Ohio down to South Carolina. You going to miss those big whitetails? Good point, Jesse. You never know what memory will be a life-changing experience. Eric says you can take 12. Now, I'm not sure how he's coming up with that, but you can take multiple. Brian says we're allowed one. You're in Ontario, but you can take a big bear, can't you? Big bear. All right, let me tell you who's on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week before I get too far off track. Eric Long of Longline Charters talks about the fantastic late summer and early fall multi-species fishing on Lake St. Clair. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News has a preview of their big outdoor weekend coming up. Craig Plowman. I got to say something about Craig. Craig fished with me last Thursday. Friday. Craig fished with me because he paid for a trip at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation dinner. So he was the high bidder. He paid for that trip. He also offered me a handful of cash to help pay for gas, which I turned down, but that was a very stand-up thing to do. And the best thing Craig Plowman did, he showed up at my Angler Quest with a box of 20 very expensive cigars. He set the bar very high. Now, I'm not saying everybody who fishes with me in the future has to bring me a box of nice cigars, but I wouldn't turn them down. Thank you, Craig Plowman. Yeah, been well. A long time since we got a Wednesday Night Live. Hope you're doing. We are, and I hope the same for you guys trekking outdoors. I do like them, Greg. They're very good cigars. Thank you. Okay, Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In hour number 2, we're talking with John Bergsma of Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest TV. Then Chad Stewart from the DNR answers some of the concerns, some of the questions about the mandatory deer registration for this fall. And then at the end of the hour, this week's Ask Avery segment, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. In our third hour, we're getting ready for bow season with Kevin Pritchard of Jay's Sporting Goods, jaysportinggoods.com. And then, of course, wild game chef Dave Miner, Dixie Dave Miner, has a great recipe. This time it's salmon chowder. Okay. Let me ask you a question. How much venison can you keep in your freezer legally? And how long can you keep it in your freezer legally? In addition, how much fish can you keep in your freezer and for how long legally? That is this week's Ask Avery question. I'll give you a couple of minutes here to weigh in, and then I'll give you the real deal. Salmon chowder is awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the bear hunt. I don't know. Is it processed? Yeah, it's frozen. It's in the freezer. Is there an actual rule for that? Is it processed? I understand where you're going, Jason. Let's say fillets. Well, John, I'm not going to tip my hand just yet. I am going to White River on a bear hunt. I don't know if fish is 2 days limit, I believe, per person with a license in your household. That's Doug Ward checking in. Johnny says, I have cigars for you when we get to Ohio. What, you're not going to give them to me when I see you in Seney? You holding out on me, Johnny? Hey, Bernie, good evening. How are you, buddy? 2 times daily limit, Dave says. Plus, do you need to have the kill tag with the deer meat in the freezer? Good question, Brian. Good question. Fish, 2 days daily limit per license. Dave Mason, nice to have you along with us, buddy. What about venison, my friends? Fish, that day's possession limit plus 2 more days limit up to 1 year. Oh, okay. So you're putting a 1 year limit on it. There are possession limits in the reg book. Okay. Here's the question that made me bring it up on Ask Avery. This is from Keith Seltz. He says, how long can a person keep any type of wild game in the freezer and just how much is allowed? He says, as you are aware, that someone in Gladwin County was charged with something in the neighborhood of having 1,000 fish in the freezer. He says, I have a relative in Ohio that seems to go fishing every day, catches fish. I ask him about a limit. He says, never heard of such a thing. So my question is mainly about venison. How long is a person allowed to keep venison before it's considered illegal, if at all? And I took the question to the next level: venison and fish. Dave says it's 90 days for venison. Used to be. Or was it 60? I think it was 90. So I took this. Thank you, Trent. I took this question to the DNR. Lieutenant Jason Wickland joined me on the show for this weekend, and he answered the questions. He says that there used to be a law on the books in Michigan that you could only keep venison in the freezer for, I think it was 60 days. Maybe it was 90, whatever. And after that, you had to have a possession tag / license from the DNR, and there was no fee for that. Several years ago, I think it was 1996, 93, that law was taken off the books when they did the codification of our fish and game laws. There is no law on the books in Michigan right now that regulates how long you can keep wild game in your freezer or how much you can keep in your freezer, according to the Michigan DNR. I said, okay, that's good to know. Lieutenant, what about fish? Good evening, Scott. Good evening, Tim. Good evening, Randy. I said, what about fish? He said, there is a 2 day, there is that possession limit for fish, right? It's either the catch you've got today and an additional day or an additional 2 days or whatever. He said, that's when you're out in the field. He said, that's when you're out in the boat or you got a cooler full of stuff at your campsite. He says, once those fish get into your freezer, he said, first thing is we would need a search warrant to get in there and see those fish. Secondly, we don't do that. He says there is no limit to how much fish you can have in your freezer. Now, the reason the guy in Gladwin County got nailed was there was an investigation around it where the DNR came in and watched him take multiple limits. So they did get their search warrant and they were able to go to his house. And it turns out it was a commercial fishing operation supplying fish for a restaurant out of state. So isn't that interesting? Hey, Mark, how are you? Looking forward to seeing you in Ohio. Isn't that interesting? What we sometimes think is true, what we sometimes think is the law, turns out to be it's not. It's like an old wives' tale. And this comes from Lieutenant Jason Wickland of the Michigan DNR, a conservation officer, speaking for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Just thought you'd want to know. All right, Johnny, you have a great night as well, buddy. Where'd you go? There you are. Have a good night, Johnny. Let me know how that bow shoots for you too, will you? I'm going to be, you are more than welcome, Jim. I am going to be, I got to shoot my dart and crossbow. It's not going to be for a few days, but it's going to be soon. Got to get ready for that Ontario trip. Okay, going back to Ontario. My family, well, it's no surprise, Mark, to you, but it is a surprise to a lot of people. Mark, you have a little extra insight into this whole thing over the average man or woman on the street. Here at the Avery house, we eat and give away like a bear a year. I have 2 bear hunts this year. I've got White River coming up next weekend, and then I've got my Michigan bear hunt with Johnny Bowler. I've shot many bears in Ontario. I have never shot a Michigan bear. So my goal for this fall is to shoot a Michigan bear with my Brenton USA 350 Legend. That's my goal. With that in mind, I don't know if I will shoot a bear in Ontario. Now, to a non-hunter, they might look at this and say, well, this is crazy. You're going there for a hunt. And you're saying already you might not shoot one. I'm going there for the experience of seeing bears, being around bears, getting video of bears, maybe shooting a bear if the right bear walks in front of me. And that would have to be a very, very big black colored black bear or a decent size black bear of a different color, say cinnamon, brown, blonde. Another interesting point I want to make tonight. You'll hear people talk about color phase black bears. It was a color phase bear. In my opinion, there is no such thing as a color phase black bear because to me, a color phase means it's going through a phase, meaning one year it's a black bear, one year it's a cinnamon black bear, one year it's a blonde black bear. It's going through a phase. That's not the case. The color that a black bear is the color that a black bear is pretty much forever. So it's not a phase. That's the color of the bears. I've never shot anything other than a black bear. I've never harvested. I did shoot a very nice cinnamon colored bear, unfortunately in the shoulder in Ontario one year, didn't recover him. So I'm not going to Ontario with the intent of shooting a bear. I'm going to Ontario with the intent of having a wonderful bear hunt and hopefully close encounters with several bears. If an arrow flies, all the better. Everything I do is business related, Cliff. Everything I do. Every time I go fishing, every time I go hunting, every time I go on Wednesday Night Live, every time I go on Behind the Mic, everything I say on the radio show, everything I post online, it's business for me. I'm going to use the Rek broadheads, Michigan-made Rek, R-E-K. That's my go-to head these days. I like those guys out of Frankenmuth. They make a great product. It is Maker's Mark Wednesday. Indeed, it is. Okay, what else? Anyway, Mark, nice to have you on here tonight, too, by the way. Oh, if you've been on, hey, Scott, once, Mark, once, and I've seen a lot of bears. I've seen one color bear, and it was that cinnamon bear that I shot in the shoulder in Ontario. I've only seen one out of the couple hundred bears I've seen, probably, whatever the number is. I've only seen one that was not black or black with a V. Scott, I don't know, Scott. The thing about bear hunting is people either love it or they could care less. Haven't shot it yet, Jason. I was waiting for my fishing season to get over. Now that my fishing season's over, I got to get my Ontario bear hunt out of the way, and then I'm going to have some quality time with that Brenton 350 Legend. Yes, I agree with you. Usually you have to go further west to get color bears. Although Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats shot one up there this spring. Oh, speaking of Michigan Brand, if you go into any Meyer store right now and you see the you see the Meyer branded jerky, snack sticks, whatever, they're actually made by Michigan Brand. They're labeled Meyer brand, but they're made by Michigan Brand. How cool is that? Hey, Jen, how was your day? I know you were with us this morning. Thank you. Oh, on Saginaw Bay, I saw something for the first time I haven't seen, well, in this water. There's a net. There's a commercial fishing net on the northeast side of the man-made island. It's been out there for about a week now. I saw him putting it out there. I was quite surprised. Yeah, Saturday I was coming in from out deep. Let me come back to that. And I forgot it was there. And fortunately, it was marked. I missed it at the last minute. Sorry, Mike. I'm still in the fish thing. Did I hear you tell us that the lieutenant said there is no possession limit of fish in the freezer? That's what he said. A 2-day possession in the field. That's what he said. Lance says, here's the link to the possession law in Michigan. Interesting. I can't read it right now. Doug says he's across the street. Bill. Okay. Doug, are you listening right now? It's hump day! Did you hear that, Doug? Doug was one of my friends fishing with us on Saturday. Doug's a great guy. He lets me turkey hunt on his property. He lets me shoot my bow out there. He let my grandson Carter shoot his shotgun out there. And his dog Archie's a pretty cool dog too. I'm waiting to see if he heard me say that. I bet he did hear me say hump day. Hey, Josh, nice to have you along with us. Doug says Archie's on his way over. He heard me. Archie's my buddy. He's my buddy. It's always nice to fish with people who know what they're doing. I take a lot of people out who are new to fishing, who aren't experienced with it, and that is a riot because it's nice. Let me change it a little bit. It's wonderful to share that experience with people who haven't fished and then expose them to, say, Saginaw Bay walleye fishing, and they love it. That's a riot. But it's a lot of work for me. So it's so much fun to go out with people who are fishermen, like Craig Plowman, who's on here right now, like Doug Cook, who's across the street right now. I know that's what you were saying, Scott. Seraphin's collecting junk fish with that net by the island. And I'm sure that's all they're collecting, right? Because there's no walleye there. There's no walleye right there, right? I fished that spot. So I know there's walleye there. I know there's some junk fish there too. Interesting. Or as my daughter would say, interesting. So anyway, it's always fun to fish with people who know how to fish because I can relax a little bit and learn from them. Doug's a good fisherman. Archie's probably better, though. Okay, what else is on my list here? My website, by the way, is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. When do I stop fishing the bay, Mike? Now. I'm done. I'm done. Exactly. Wherever they place their nets out there, there are walleye. No tangles on your side. Did you see the picture I posted, Doug? Yeah, we're done now. I'm done now, Chris. Not because the fishing is done, because the fishing is holding up very well this late in the summer. The water temp is only 75 on top, which is 5 degrees cooler than normal this time of year. And the fish are staying in the inner bay, which is wonderful. So the fish are there. I'm pretty much done fishing because in a week now, I'm heading to White River, Ontario. So in the meantime, I've got to record 2 radio shows instead of 1. I've got to do 2 weeks of Outdoor Magazine minutes. I've got to do 2 weeks of promos and all that stuff. So work has accelerated these next 2 weeks so I can take a week and go to Ontario. And then by the time I get back from Ontario, it's like, almost the end of August. So I'm pretty much done. The fish are still there. I may sneak out later and try to get some. Happy rainy Wednesday, Aditya. Garage looks nice, buddy. Got some nice salmon today. Boy, they are a lot harder to get in versus our beloved walleye, aren't they? John's getting crappie, or maybe he's getting crappie. I don't know. That'd be a whole different topic, wouldn't it, John? Oh, what else are we talking? Oh, by email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. If you have a question for me for the Ask Avery segment, like Keith Seltz did, that very enlightening question about possession limits in your freezer, send them to me, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Hey, Billy, how are you? Oh, I love my Maker's Mark Wednesdays. And tonight when I'm done, I'm probably going to, well, it's raining out. I'd like to smoke one of my Craig Plowman gifted cigars. Let me show you something else, my friends. If you weren't here earlier, when do I winterize my Angler Quest? I don't. I have the guys at Linwood Beach do it. And I don't fish late into the fall. There's some great fishing to be had late into the fall that I don't take advantage of, and I should. Okay. This is a brand new product from Primal Tree Stands. I mean, this is so new. I can't find it on their website. I can't find a news release on it. I can't find anything about this except that this showed up at my door today. This is called the Blind Spot. This is a remote controlled camera that you control with the app on your phone. It's got a 50-yard range. So you can put it up on top of your blind. You can put it next to your blind. You can put it out by the bear bait, which is what I'm going to do. Jason Karstens of True North Guide Service says it looks like a bear chew toy. That might be the case. Let's see if I turn it on, if it does anything. I think it's going to cycle up and move here a little bit. Let's see. It did last time. All right, Chris, have a good night. Are you going to do something here to me? See if it moves on me. I'm still figuring this thing out. No, it's not going to do anything this time. Maybe it's because I don't have the app connected to it. Last time I had the app connected to it. I'm curious to... There you go. See? Going through its cycles. Now, it did make some noise when it did that, which I'm wondering about. I'm concerned about. So I don't know. I'm interested to use this. I am fascinated by the concept. Not in the stores yet. Bob Ransom of Primal Tree Stands promised me that it would be on the website by now. It's not. But keep an eye on primaltreestands.com, primaltreestands.com. You look for the blind spot. Blind spot. Interesting concept. Could you do basically the same thing with a GoPro? Could you do basically the same thing with a GoPro on top of your blind or up in a tree? Yes. However, you can't remotely pan and tilt. Remember, this is pan and this is tilt. You don't pan your camera like this. This is a pan. This is a tilt. This will allow you to remotely pan and tilt your camera. This is static. So I don't know. You know me, I'm a tech geek. What's my gun camera? My gun camera is help me out, my friends. I can't think of the name of it. South Louisiana in the house. It's not. Help me out, my friend. What is? I got a mental block. I can't think of it. Tacticam. Thank you. Yeah, Tacticam. Well, I'm gonna point it down. I'm gonna put it at the bait, my bear bait, and I'm gonna hopefully use it to look down the bear runways, the trails coming into the baits. That the bush is too thick for me to see. I don't know. I don't know. I've never used it before. I don't know how hard it's going to be to use. I don't know if it's going to be loud. I don't know if it's going to be good in low light. I don't think you can zoom it. So we'll see. I mean, the concept is fascinating. And this is obviously a first generation product. It's going to get better. So if this has some limitations, and I suspect it does, you can look for Bob Ransom and the folks at Primal Tree Stands to continue to improve this product and the concept. Because Bob Ransom doesn't do anything half-hearted. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it right. Is it legal to use it in Michigan? I have, it's a good question, but I believe it is. Oh, I'm going to. Give me a few more minutes. I'm going to enjoy that cigar. Few more minutes yet. Unless you're kicking me out now, I'll go out and smoke it right now in the garage. I'm okay with that. Okay. In fact, I think that does pretty much wrap it up. Again, the rundown for this weekend's radio show: Eric Long of Long Line Charters on Lake St. Clair, Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News in hour number 1. In hour number 2, John Bergsma of a Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest, Chad Stewart from the DNR talking about concerns over online deer registration, mandatory this fall. Then Lieutenant Jason Wickland talks about this concept of how much fish and wild game can you have in your freezer legally. In our third hour, we're getting ready for bow season with Kevin Pritchard of Jay's Sporting Goods. And then wild game chef Dixie Dave Miner wraps it all up with a very nice salmon chowder. Fish chowder is great, whether it's walleye chowder or salmon chowder or whatever. It's great. Bill, I think I am going to take you up on your suggestion, right? I'm just happy. Thank you. I'm just happy that I got my audio situation worked out this time. Remember last week, it was driving me absolutely bonkers. Mike's doing his right now. Maker's Mark II, Mike. We should start this little thing. There should be this. Maybe there will be this thing on Facebook now called the After Show, the After Wednesday Night Live, where we're all sitting on our deck or our patio, drinking a bourbon, smoking a cigar, and posting pictures. No, once it's in the freezer, I've told Brian you do not. Scott? No, I'm not going to start over. All right. Appreciate that, Mark. All right. People like that idea. All right, my friends. Let's go out with a bang here, shall we? Let's go out with a bang. As long as we're going to wrap it up. Let's do it in style. All right, my name is Mike Avery. This has been another edition of Wednesday Night Live. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to reach out. And thank you, my friends, for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live.